Motivated, I'm focused. Came a long way from the lowest. Yeah, gotta get it, the mindset, gotta put it in motion. This is the moment, gotta one-up my opponent. Back then, they ain't noticed me, now they know it's me, I'm the chosen. It's my time, yeah, I put that on Bible. No excuses, gotta get to the final. Take all of my idols and turn them to rivals. It's all or nothing, man, the trophy is vital. Game time, bet I'm coming in clutch. No hang time, man, they can't keep up. The game's on the line, seconds on the time. Who can't fight? It's gotta be us.
Better under pressure, go ahead and let it fall on me. I'm destined for it all, you better call on me. They say what doesn't kill you make you stronger. All that pain, it done made me to a monster. They say what doesn't kill you make you stronger. All that pain, it done made me to a monster.
Yeah, whole lot of times they doubted I wouldn't be who I am without it. Sleepless nights, I counted. It all paid off, it's really astounding. I had to keep the faith to elevate. Hope for better days, they were coming. Now we can celebrate, knowing every day is abundant. Yeah, it's my time, yeah, I put that on Bible. No excuses, gotta get to the final. Take all of my idols and turn them to rivals. It's all or nothing, man, the trophy is vital. Game time, bet I'm coming in clutch. No hang time, man, they can't keep up. The game's on the line, seconds on the time. Who can't fight? It's gotta be us.
Better under pressure, go ahead and let it fall on me. I'm destined for it all, you better call on me. They say what doesn't kill you make you stronger. All that pain, it done made me to a monster. They say what doesn't kill you make you stronger. All that pain, it done made me to a monster. To a monster.
Tonight on Countdown to Green, we recap all the action from Michigan. The crew prepares you for the qualifying finale. And the 2019 champ, Zach Novak, stops by the show. All of that and more, coming up on Countdown to Green.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the virtual Texas Motor Speedway for tonight's Countdown to Green, presented by Logitech G, for the final round of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series. Thousands of competitors started this process. Tonight, we will narrow it down to 30 who could be eligible for the $100,000 prize later this year. I'm Alan Cavana, happy to be joined by Ryan Vargas and James Pike. James, let's start with you. It all comes down to tonight if you want a shot at the big prize. A lot of pressure.
And the hardest thing, I think, for those in the bubble, and we'll get into this a little bit later, is that there's no clear-cut number that you're racing to in order to guarantee a place. You have to go out and do as well as you possibly can for all 100 laps tonight, and the pressure is not off until the checkered flag falls.
And Ryan, they're going to have to do it on a 1.5-mile track that's far from cookie cutter. What's Texas like?
Oh man, Texas is a very treacherous racetrack. You have that wide sweeping 1 and 2 and that really fast and tight 3 and 4. These guys are going to be tested, and we've talked about it all night long coming up in the pre-production stuff. This is the go or go home night. If you are going to have a bad night, tonight is not it. You need to show up and bring your A game.
Yeah, James, a few drivers we've already seen deliver their A game was the College Series. Hell of a finale for them.
Really, really good race to cap off the eNASCAR College Series powered by Play vs. College League campaign. These are the highlights from week 2 of the Sunset Splash, where it got feisty up in the front. Matthew Swag and Jose Silas Jr. make contact. Timmy Holmes goes for a spin early, and then up at the front of the field, we saw some really, really good racing. Good look here. Mario Miranda, Matthew Morton, AJ Hyder getting after it. Jackson Anderson here too. A lot of great battling that you would expect at Homestead Miami, where you could go 2, 3, 4 wide. Adam Garza with a great move here down to the bottom to get a few spots going into 3. But at the end, John Forbes Jr. and Logan Clampett had a good fight up towards the front. Miranda and company had a good fight too. A little bit of contact further back. Douglas Newbegin getting into it, spinning around. But Clampett won the battle, and Connor Yarashak wins the war and becomes the first ever Canadian eNASCAR College iRacing Series champion. And Clampett goes out with a tournament win in his final race before graduating. So neat way to cap it off for a really, really talented driver who's done well in the College Series the last years. But wait, there's more, because there's another event for the College Series, an exhibition race where the broadcast is going to come to you live from the Sim Racing Expo Charlotte in Uptown Charlotte, North Carolina. Time attack starts May 10th, May 11th, runs through the 18th of the broadcasted race, May 24th, right afternoon Eastern. Going to be a lot of fun to be on that. I'll be there. There are going to be a lot of great people in Charlotte too. We're going to have so much fun bringing the stars of the College Series to Charlotte in the real world and the virtual world, Alan.
A fun series, and looking forward to that event as well. Again, tonight we're helping finalize who will be in the championship series. One driver we know who will already be there, and we start next month, is a veteran of the series, Blaze Crawford. Blaze joining us now. Blaze, let's start. First of all, welcome to the show. We know you've been waiting to compete. You've got some news to start us off with. What is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am very pleased to announce we'll be running it back with Team Dillon Management this year, driving the 3-car again for them. So I could not be more excited to get this season underway, get back out on the track and represent Team Dillon Management in the 3-car and Coca-Cola for sure.
Yeah, great scheme, great number, great sponsor. You were a rookie with all this last year. What was it like then and now coming back? Is there an extra pressure for you?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I feel this year going into it a lot more confident, knowing, I've got the same team behind me and the same people backing me up. I feel very confident going into this year, having Coca-Cola on the car last year, I felt, a little bit of pressure for sure, representing such an awesome brand and, trying to make a name for myself as a rookie. It was definitely a cool experience, definitely a lot of pressure, but I go into this year with a lot of confidence knowing, hey, I know what to expect going out there, and it's time to execute, and I know I can certainly execute on a high level.
We see a very similar car to yours every week in the qualifying series. Michael Cozy Jr. running a similar scheme. What would it be like to have him as a teammate in 2026, should it come to that?
Yeah, I personally have not, talked to Cozy a lot one-on-one, but I have definitely raced him on iRacing throughout the years. Such a phenomenal driver. He's definitely got a lot of skill, and it's proven. He's been in the series for several years. And it'd be cool to have a teammate, Cozy out there with me. I would feel confident, making a run for a team title with him. So we'll see, how free agency goes. But I definitely have a ton of respect for everything Cozy does, and he's always raced me clean. So looking forward to seeing how he does tonight in that 3-car.
Well, Blaze, it's great to hear from you. We will see you next month when the championship series begins. See you then. Let's, before we talk to another driver later on who we'll see again, we got to recap what we saw last week. Again, in round 10, this was in Michigan. Ryan, this was a heck of a race because we saw some great battles, some great four-wide racing, and just a great track for this type of competition.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the next gen, as we see a bit of contact right there, a car getting spun around. But nonetheless, Michigan International Raceway is always a blast to watch these cars race. You see right there, offset four-wide action right there with Michael Cozy Jr. stuck in the middle. These cars absolutely put on a show with the huge runs you get with the draft, Alan, and just watching them slip and slide through the corners. But at the end of the day, everyone tried their hardest, but nobody could defeat Quentin Warman. He is at the top of the leaderboard in the point standing, and once again, he proved why he's the guy to beat, and that sets us up for right here. Quentin Warman at the top of the board. Really, if you look at the points here, the top 5 essentially are locked in. They are not going to fall out of the top 30. That's when you start looking at the guys towards the back half right here. Daniel Falkingham, another guy that's from a championship series driver. Nate Stewart's kind of jumped up into that 11th place spot there, James. But, there's a lot of names that are going to be fighting to stay above, and some names that are going to be trying to jump into the top 30 once we get to the second page here.
Now, this is where the math gets really complicated because there are 2 big points I think we're keeping in mind. The first is that the actual amount of points that you earn, it will stay in a similar ballpark between the splits, but it will change slightly depending upon the strength of field. So if you've got a stronger SOF, you'll earn a little bit more points. The other issue to keep in mind is that when you are gaining points and trying to figure out the math, the drops here are factored in, and somebody's lowest run is going to factor into that too. So you're not necessarily racing them outright. You're trying to beat whatever their lowest point total is that is being counted after the drop. And that's just if you're trying to catch one person, then multiply that math by all the drivers we have in the field, and it makes it really, really hard to find a number. So truly the MO for every person on this particular page right here, you just have to go out and try and do the absolute best that you can and hope that the results shake in your favor.
Absolutely. And you look at the points here. I mean, another thing that sticks out to me, it's a tale of 2 Bradys, right? You have Kenny Brady on the left side in by just a slim 53-point margin. Then you have his brother, Max Brady, out by 155. And shout out to Justin Melillo keeping us updated. Kenny Brady got bumped to second split tonight. So he's got another bit of a mountain to climb here tonight. Another couple names here. You see Ryan Doucette, 15 points out. Adam Garza, 95 points out. It's so interesting to see, especially now that we kind of are at this point where, look, with all the drops already into play, you can't afford a misstep tonight. Tonight is the night that you need to step up. And if you're somebody like Quentin Warman or Sebastian Marin, Sebastian, we talked about him in the truck and the O'Reilly car, how much he was dominant. But tonight is the night that he needs to step up and show to these free agency teams, hey, I could drive this Cup car. And Alan, it's going to be interesting to see once these drivers get settled in free agency.
Absolutely. All the names that you just saw there trying to be one in the field of the championship series to race against the person we're going to talk to now, Zach Novak, one of our Finale 4 last year. Joining us now, a long off season, I know, Zach, but you got back to victory lane last season. You made it to the finale. What was that like for you, those emotions?
It's really indescribable. It's just a long time coming, as everybody knows, and I work really hard at this stuff, and this is my avenue for competitive racing, right? So anything I can do to improve at it and be at the top of my game is what I'm going to do, and that was definitely a long time coming for sure, and it was definitely pretty emotional for me and the whole family.
you have the unique experience. You won your championship live on television on NBC, and you've also competed live for the title at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. How do you compare those two things? What was more nerve-wracking?
I think the first time I wasn't really old enough to really understand the magnitude of the situation yet. The last year was just so surreal to me. I've never competed on a stage like that in front of a crowd, but about 2 or 3 laps in, I was pretty locked in and in the zone. So it really wasn't too much different. It was a little bit to get used to, but like I said, once I got racing, I was pretty comfortable.
It's been a different offseason, a different wait for you guys, but you will be ready on May 19th. You've been watching the competition. How have you been keeping yourself ready so you're prepared when the championship season starts?
Yeah, I think the best way to stay ready is helping teammates and even competitors really just get through this series. In my case, I've been helping out Cody Bias a lot for the qualifying series and helping him get back in. And he's obviously done an incredible job putting himself in a good spot in points. So, just kind of staying involved with all of that and, helping get the cars ready for these races has kind of helped keep me in the loop, and looking forward to, seeing if all of our work in the offseason pays off.
Hey, it's been a long wait, but we're only about 22, 23 days away before you're back on track competing in the championship series. We're looking forward to it, Zach. See you then.
Thank you.
Hey, and guys, look, the rest of the field, we know Zach Novak will be there, Ryan James. The rest of the field will help be determined, at least largely, tonight. Ryan, what do you think about what we've seen in this championship format to qualify and get to the big show?
Well, the biggest thing that I've liked about this format is it's given these drivers who are trying to earn their way into the championship series a platform to kind of just show what they got. Now we've kind of had some stars in the making here with Quentin Warman and Sebastian Marin, who have both set themselves apart from the rest of the pack. I mean, like I mentioned, Sebastian, he dominated in the O'Reilly car and the truck, but he's kind of not been as strong here in the Cup car. Is tonight the night that he reverses that narrative and becomes a threat in this Cup car? And Quentin Warman, he's just got a point to prove. He's just going to go out there and try and win. But James, watching some of these guys who are trying to maintain their points, it's going to be interesting to see who kind of comes out on top and makes it to free agency.
And here's the thing, making it a free agency is part of the drill, but here's the other thing. There are 30 spots in free agency. There are 20 cars to race. So making it is not enough to lock you into the Coke Series outright. You have to prove to the teams that you're worth signing, and this is the last opportunity these drivers have on track to make their case.
One step at a time. Well said. One more time on the track. It's Texas Motor Speedway. We're going green right after this.
Racing isn't just a game. It's a way of life. Every lap, every moment. Practice is about consistency. Winning doesn't come easy.
Yo!
My turn, Bubba. Feel the road. Own the race. Logitech G wheels and pedals available now on Amazon.
The engines roar, the crowd screams, and the day is set to perfect. A celebration of life, liberty, and the pursuit of speed.
Lucky to do this thanks to all the people that sacrificed for it.
That's why we stand with pride and reverence to celebrate the men and women whose sacrifice and commitment makes our pursuit possible. Together with Coca-Cola, NASCAR salutes.
something that I can't explain. The wind is calling out my name. Let it rain on me. You know I put in the hours, and I'm not gonna wait in line. I'm gonna take what's mine for the world to see. You gotta take the lead. You gotta feel the fire. It's all I see, and I still believe. You gotta take the lead, take the lead, take the lead, take the lead.
Live from iRacing's virtual Texas Motor Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the final race of the 2026 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Qualifying Series. This is the Sim Racing Expo 150. Well, after 3 months of enduring races that have seen some of the biggest and brightest up-and-coming stars rise to the occasion, at the end of tonight, we will finally know the 30 names who will join Championship Series free agency. And along with Alan Cavana, Quenneth Bueno, and myself, Evan Pozzocco, KB, we are excited to finally put this chapter of the Coke Series to close.
And this might be the banger of a chapter through it all. We've gone through 3 different vehicles, several different types of racetracks. And Alan, this is the most exciting, but probably most nerve-wracking part of it all, closing out a season, and with the final race being, of course, the crazy one that we always expect to see. We may see some points swing in and drivers being bounced in and bounced out of the top 30 by the time this is done.
It's months of work, thousands of competitors all trying to make it to that next step and potentially be a competitor for $100,000. One final shot for so many drivers tonight. It's going to be pressure-filled, but also exciting because we're doing it on a track that's far from cookie cutter. A lot of options, good racing at Texas. We've already had a couple of special guests on the broadcast. We'll talk more with both of them as the night goes on, Alan, but I'll throw things over to you. You've got Luke Crane with us. Yes, Luke Crane, Sim Racing Expo project manager. Of course, the Sim Racing Expo coming to Charlotte next month. A big deal. Luke, thank you for joining us, first of all. You're going to fit right into Charlotte. I can see your hat. Beautiful NASCAR hat. Are you a junior fan, or what's your NASCAR fandom here?
I mean, I love NASCAR. I like eNASCAR, maybe a little bit more actually from a sim racing history. But whoever's got the best hat, I'm kind of rooting for. I don't particularly have a favorite driver, but I do own, I reckon, over 50 hats at this point. So yeah, a little bit of a fan.
Well, good. There's going to be some good merch for you in Charlotte when you get here. Project manager, Sim Racing Expo. What does that mean for us and what you'll be doing once you get here to Uptown Charlotte?
What is a project manager for the Sim Racing Expo? It's a very small team. There are 5 of us that do indeed put these shows on. So basically, whatever he's doing gets done. But my main job is the stage content. So whatever you see on stage when you come to the Sim Racing Expo, I'm in charge of that. So if it's broken, probably don't come up to me and ask me about it. If it's going really well, then absolutely come and say hi.
Yeah, get all the credit, none of the problems. Coming stateside for the first time, it's going to be a huge deal. What can fans expect now that you're stateside?
Well, we came over last year in October to sort of scout the convention center out and also to scout the Hall of Fame out. We've watched the eNASCAR finals, which was absolutely phenomenal. Fantastic job from all the team there as well. Well done to you guys. But it's effectively going to be the Sim Racing Expo, what we know and love from Europe, but with a sprinkling of North America to it. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how it's received over in America.
Yeah. A part of the Expo is going to be the College Racing Series live at the Expo. How'd that get involved? Why is that important for you guys to have that live event there?
I worked with Delara in 2024 with the Indy 500 actually, and we have a university race. And to see the fandom and to see everybody, congregating from the universities in their colors and really, supporting each other, I'm like, this is unbelievable. When I was young, I was licking the arcade equipment. That was as good as it got for me. But now we're seeing a proper infrastructure within schools. And I'm like, why can we not bring something like that with eNASCAR as well? And, hopefully it's really well received.
Luke Crane, the Sim Racing Expo felt so far away, but it's only now a few weeks away. Can't wait to see you here in Charlotte. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
We'll happen to have the Sim Racing Expo as well as the title sponsor on this one, Kenneth, as we take a look at tonight's Logitech G track analysis.
Yeah, we are deep in the heart of Texas. Texas Motor Speedway, a mile and a half, born in 1996. This track underwent a significant reconfiguration in 2017 that results in lower banking in turns 1 and 2 at 20 degrees, and then the same banking in 24 degrees in 3 and 4, but a lot more grip. We've seen drivers nearly go full throttle through 3 and 4 on the first few laps of a run. Turns 1 and 2, you slow down, lots of lines to be used, and Blaze Crawford, the previous qualifying series winner here, of course now watching from the sidelines, seeing which drivers will possibly join him in the championship series this year.
We'll get some analysis from him as the night carries on. We'll also be talking with 2019 champion Zach Novak, who is hanging out as our driver analyst also. Let's go trackside one final time on this qualifying campaign and take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid. Sebastian Marin going to bring us to the green flag tonight, the driver second into points, and Ray Alfala, not the qualifying series he's wanted, but will start tonight in second. Then Quentin Mormon, your points leader and champ favorite into this one. He starts in the number 4 spot. Some other names of note through the top 10. You've also got Cody Bias and Daniel Falkenham, Matt Busa as well.
And then 11th on back, lots of heavy hitters, starting with Andrew Navarro, 5th in points entering tonight, and a contrast for the driver on his outside. Daniel Nanny, 109 points behind the top 30, needing a good one tonight. Matthew Morden in 13th, Eddie Kerner on the outside in 14th. Thomas Lloyd, top 15 start with Garrett Maines on his outside, and a bunch of great drivers behind them. 17th for Pfeffer, Wyatt Tinsley back in 18th, Jacob Wilkerson, and Brian Mercurio, drivers that are hoping to stay in the top 30.
Adam Garza starts tonight in the number 21 spot ahead of Jake Nichols. And then Kwame Scott, your Chicagoland winner, the last intermediate race we had, starts in 23rd. Behind Tim, I guess I should note also Jake Nichols, by the way, first top split appearance on the season. That's notable. We've talked a lot about our Coca-Cola feature driver, Michael Cozy Jr. He's sandwiched between Reynolds and Rondeletto. And then Michael P. Frisch rounds out the top 30.
And only 3 drivers behind the main group. Justin Campbell, 31st. Blake McCandless in 32nd. And how about the top split debut in the final race for Caden Honeycutt? NASCAR Craftsman Trucks Series driver starts 33rd.
So a lot of heavy hitters. One thing we questioned last race, some drivers mathematically locked into the top 30. Would some not show? The answer to that is no, Alan. All the big names are here as we take a look at our Coca-Cola race analysis.
100 laps tonight around this 1.5 mile track, 150 miles, pit road speed of 45 miles per hour. 3 tire sets available with an estimated pit window of 58 to 62 laps, well over halfway. If this goes green, we may see some strategy. If not, we've got the extra tires. Again, can't iterate it enough. So much on the line tonight, whether it be strategy, whether it be fuel. You never know who will win and what they may need to get themselves to the top 30.
And the point was made on Countdown to Green, Kenneth. It's clear as mud when it comes to that bubble battle because the points are factored with a drop. So you're not racing to get a new best result. You're really racing to get a not a worst result. And that is why we're going to stick with everybody through the end until we officially know the top 30 before we sign off tonight.
Just throw up a big question mark out there until this checkered flag is done. And remember, we have still multiple splits going on at the same time. So even if split 1 ends in enough time, split 2, split 3, if they go longer, it's still a waiting game, even for those making their top split debut or those who have been this split this entire time. It's going to be fun to watch.
What started in February as an all-new era for this qualifying series, we'll see 30 drivers advance in about 100 laps time. We're happy that you're with us on the iRacing Sports Network. This is the Sim Racing Expo 150. Let's go racing in Texas. Already 3 wide, some of them before they even got to the stripe, but the battle for the lead is on. It's Ray Alfala, contact with Sebastian Marin for P1.
Hard racing there in turn 3, and a beautiful jump by Ray Alfala takes the lead off turn 4, and it was from that outside lane, pinching Marin down, using more throttle off the exit. That doesn't mean Marin is done yet. Now he crosses over, high side for the lead, back to turn 1 on lap 2.
It's no surprise to see names like Sebastian Marin, Quinton Warman. They've been the best of the qualifying series. They don't have much to worry about tonight. Still plenty of pride on the line. They want to win the qualifying series, and let's face it, it still only gets you to free agency. You want to audition. You want to put your best foot forward for these teams. The best way to do that, get another checkered flag at a place like Texas.
And clear for a moment in the battle for the lead, and now all the way clear goes that man right there, Ray Alfala, one of your Coca-Cola featured drivers, a 4-time champion in the championship series, but that most recent title coming back in 2018, has been trying to get back into the championship series this season and has had a bit of a rough go at times, trying to make a statement to at least close this campaign, as he has led all laps that have been completed thus far. A couple of spots gained here and there, but nothing too crazy. Matt Busa picked up 2. He's in the number 4 position. That's at a side-by-side battle, in fact, as he was trying to get underneath Warman, wasn't able to do it. Most of the field has navigated down to 2 wide as we come to the end of lap number 4.
And you'll see that a lot over the course of this race, and it'll change if we continue to run green, Evan, but for those first few laps, it can be very difficult to gain any sort of track position if it's not in turns 1 and 2, where you're going the slowest of any part of the racetrack here at Texas. I mentioned that higher grip level in 3 and 4. Short's the same banking as it's been its entire history when it had the old surface and was much more bumpy. However, because they smoothened it out, it's now nearly full throttle on fresh tires in this next-gen car. So it becomes almost impossible to make a pass on the high side unless that car on the bottom makes a mistake. So you'll see a lot of drivers being that aggressor in turns 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4, where they have to just stay their place a little bit.
See second split on the bottom of your screen. As always, there are critical points down there for the drivers in split number 2. We'll be monitoring both of these splits over the course of the night. There are 8 drivers in the top 30 in points who competed in split number 2 a week ago. Now, Alan, some of that has changed. We called a few of them out. Caden Honeycutt, Jake Nichols, Daniel Naney. By courtesy of some top split drivers not competing this week, they jump up to split 1. That could be good because there's more points on the line. The downside is, well, the strength of field and the competition inarguably higher than that in split 2, so it's going to be harder to earn those points. It'll be interesting to see for those split hoppers if that works out for or against them tonight.
You mentioned a driver like Daniel Naney. Look at in split 1 right now where he is in 10th. He came into this race 35th in points, 109 out. Being in the top split, getting a top 10, maybe even better, would be a great points night for him in terms of getting him and vaulting him to that top 30. So much to go on, so many laps to go, but the benefit of being in the top split and running well is going to show itself if Naney can close it out.
Some 3 wide there for a minute. Matthew Morton's got a great view as you look off of the back of the driver in 12th position. Eddie Kerner in the mix there also. The orange car behind, that was Bride Beccario. So this is all going on just outside of the top 10. And KB, I'm not going to steal this story. You noticed that Jacob Wilkerson, a driver who was just above the cut line, has had some early issues here.
Yeah, he was 29 points clear entering tonight's race from Texas. He dropped out for connection issues a few laps ago. He has since rejoined the session, but he's 4 laps down, guys. We mentioned that the mulligans, the drop rounds, how that has affected things so far. For Wilkerson, maybe not a great finish tonight would have amplified him that much, but of course the worst finishes will be dropped and compared to that. So Wilkerson in early deep trouble, needs some quick yellows to get back in this one.
When it's all said and done, iRacing.com/eNASCAR/qualifying is where you'll be able to find the official standings and find out the 30 drivers who are moving on to eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Championship Series free agency when this race is said and done. But to that point on Wilkerson, no drops. Yeah, dead last is really going to hurt. He's hoping that his drop will pad it, and basically this would not be a new worst finish, so he would actually score more than 33rd place worth of points because his drop would become this race and not another one. So again, it is interesting math, and some of the teams have a better idea than others of where they sit in this picture, but that is a perfect example right there of how it is too hard to say anything definitive until we get right to it. Look at this, just outside of the top 15 or so, 4 wide off of 2, and the driver who wanted nothing to do with that, I think, was Wyatt Tinsley on the outside.
Yeah, he was just ducking out of the way. And remember, we're talking about drivers here that, for the most part, are securing their place in free agency with Navarro. Michael Cozy Jr. is top 10 in points. Wyatt Tinsley was in the top 10 in points at one point, but now back to 13th. I mean, these are drivers that ultimately do not want to change the trajectory of their season and change the drop rounds, but a lot of them didn't do that well in qualifying. Lots of mid-pack starts for them, having to scrap through what we have considered, Evan, the hornet's nest of this entire qualifying series. From about 12th on back is where the drivers be a lot more aggressive. You see those underdogs moving in, and that's where this fight continues in off of turn 4. It's been fun to watch how they're trying to get around each other, and in the case for Tinsley, avoiding trouble.
The toughest racing is further back in the pack as we have a change for the lead. As we look out from Quentin Warman, a battle for the lead. At least Sebastian Marin has overtaken Ray Alfalla, but this is last week's winner, Quentin Warman, on top of the standings, putting himself in a great position for the championship series and getting picked up in free agency. Not a surprise to see him running top 4, but just behind him, guys, Garrett Lowe. Garrett Lowe came into this, no, we won't say on the bubble, but only 58 points ahead of that top 30 line. He is now sitting there in 5th, getting some great points if he can pull off this finish here in this top split.
Yeah, that would do wonders to make him feel a lot more comfortable, but there's a long way to go. But we did see that kind of double change for position up front. Marin to the lead. Busa tried to get the 2-for-1 early bird special, tried to get around Alfalla and Marin at the same time. Couldn't do it, so that white 16 slots into the middle. So now it's Marin 1, Busa 2, Alfalla 3. Warman is still in the number 4 spot, continuing to watch on. Side by side behind them, looks like Garrett Lowe and Dylan Basin doing a battle. Basin, the white Chevrolet, 6th in line on your screen, could not get inside of Basin, or could not get inside, I should say, and tucks back in line. So Basin will maintain the spot, and it is going to be Garrett Lowe succeeding in dropping it back into P6 for the moment. Here's a good look at that battle for 19th, the gift that keeps on giving. You can just put an ISO camera on that spot of the field for every single race. You're always, Kenneth, to your point, going to have something to look at back there.
And you're always seeing some of these contenders in the middle. Thomas Lloyd, who bounced around a bit of splits a few weeks ago, but has since cemented himself in the top split. And Andrew Navarro, I mean, we talked about his finish from Michigan last week at 24th position. That wasn't his brightest spot. Phoenix was also a pretty rough race. I mean, overall, some portions of the season for Navarro that could have easily been him in the points lead, ripped away from bad luck and poor finishes, Bristol an early crash, but trying to just regain his composure here. And for a lot of these drivers, I'd imagine, Alan, if you're top 10, top 15 in points, if you're 19th right now, oh well. I mean, you're not struggling, you're not crashing. There's still a bit of ways to go in this race to change that trajectory a bit.
Yeah, and look, with little on the line, little pressure, and you know people behind you, right? People in front of you have so much more on the line. It's not one of those, again, you don't want to just give the race away. There's still plenty on the line in terms of pride and showing yourself, but a lot of people may be a little bit more aggressive with you if they feel you're a little too comfortable out there, and frankly, they've earned that position.
So Matt Busa goes to the race lead in this one, entered tonight 42nd in the points with one of the lower drop weeks. Only scored 87 points in Phoenix, so he is one of the drivers who stands the most to gain out of any, but a 238-point deficit to the cut line. Is there enough left there for Matt Busa to sneak in the final race of the year? Well, a top split race would certainly do the trick, and that's where the 16 sits now as we look at Warman and Alfalla battle for 3rd and 4th. And Dylan Basin, guys, said his name a couple of times. He dropped and lost a handful of spots early, but that kind of burnt orange 48 Toyota just now racing his way back into P4. Maybe starting to come into his race pace a little bit now that we're 20 laps in.
What a story for Dylan Basin as well, guys. The way that the season started off just a bit more rocky for him than he would have liked, but the Lakeland, Florida native has been able to turn things around from that O'Reilly Auto Parts segment. He won a pair of races. He was back in second split. We used to call him just a second split mainstay, then stepped up in a top split earlier on in the campaign and has since remained in that spot. And yeah, you can obviously factor in other drivers that have missed out, but for the most part, Dylan Basin has moved up, and he said he wants to return and get into this championship series. He wants to prove he can do it after past struggles and mistakes. After some mistakes to start off this season, he's turned it around in a phenomenal way in a very quick car to start off this run.
8 years of trying for Dylan Basin, Kenneth, and he's only 19 years old. I mean, he's got a heck of a career under him already, but still trying to make that championship series. That's the goal. That's like the title belt that's out there. Everyone's trying to climb for, and Dylan Basin putting himself in great position, as you said, throughout this championships, the qualifying series, from split 2 up to the top split. He's earned it. He's got to finish it off tonight. As we take a look at second split as well, we're trying to get as many points as possible and get themselves in.
One more note on the Basin story. Somebody who found success in the college series, winning the Queen City Crowd back in September, representing Pasco Hernando State College. That was in the NASCAR Trucks. So you mentioned that maybe struggled a little bit with those O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars, but this format with the trucks, with the O'Reilly cars, and now the Cup cars, Basin is somebody who has shown on the service to be pretty adept in a handful of different national cars. In trouble at live look in split number 2. 2 cars down, 1 to pit road, 2 more in the grass, make it 3 total. But I do not see a caution. So that incident off of turn number 4, they will stay green in second split. Looks like Dallas Pataska might have been one of the drivers involved, and maybe Helton and others. So 3 drivers with issues there in second split, but just like in top split, no yellows yet. We're already at 1/4 distance here as we watch Ryan Doucette continue to control things up at the front of the field. Well, NASCAR 25 is available now. We have a caution in split number 1. We'll jump over there in just a moment, but NASCAR 25 is NASCAR's official video game featuring an all-new in-depth career mode that features Dale Jr. and Dirty Mo Media, and much like this qualifying series, you can race through the ranks. That starts down in the ARCA cars, through trucks, through O'Reilly and Cup. You do not want to miss it. It's available now on Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam. Split number 1 is under the yellow with Busa as the leader. We'll stay here with split 2 under green until we get a replay there. You're watching the battle for the lead. Joseph Galata trying to chase down Ryan Doucette.
And Doucette, a driver who we mentioned is on that cut line and needs something like this, a race victory in split 2, but it's not going to come easy with Galata just hounding on the rear bumper. We saw Kenny Brady as well run well at top split, and in second split here, just hanging on to third, being able to potentially catch up to both of these cars and make it a trifecta for the win.
Well, here's a look at what happened in your top split. On the bottom, just a couple of cars pushing up off of 2, and the initial 2 isn't even where the spin comes from, but it was the accordion effect that eventually collected a driver. That looks like it was Daniel Nanny with the issues. Pataska and Helton was where the initial contact came from. So that's the caution flag in split number 1. Still green here in split 2.
Yeah, it was that situation of just washing up the right front tire in turns 1 and 2, and we've seen that happen a ton here at Texas. In that slower part of the racetrack, that inside line has rubbered in a ton, so it's now more slick than it used to be on lap number 1. And now that you've got all these cars running around, drivers are moving maybe about a half lane to a full lane off of that darkened rubber at the bottom. So what happened with Ron DeLetto, the car just washed up, got tight. Falkingham was pinching him, to be fair, both cars side by side, and then that slower speed ultimately just caught the back car and Daniel Nanny in that sandwich, and there was nowhere for Mercury to go before getting into him.
So second split, still green, 30 laps of 100 done. Top split driver is going to be getting set for restart in just a few moments.
This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of eNASCAR. Sim Racing Expo. From the Green Hell to the Queen City, the world's largest sim racing expo is racing into Charlotte, Memorial Day weekend.
Well, live look in at split number one, where we have a new race leader, Sebastian Marin. Now to the point, both he and Dylan Basin were able to cycle through to the race lead after the pit cycle. I find it interesting because looking at the numbers, at least on my side, Matt Busa, the driver who led us down pit road, had statistically better pit stops than both of them. He was in the box for 14.9, but it was, or 14.2, it was a 15.0 for Conklin, and it was a 14.9 for Basin. Nonetheless, even Marin with a 15.1, they end up cycling through. I think a lot of the heavy lifting there done by Sebastian Marin, qualifying in the number one spot, getting the final pit stall on the pit lane. So that is not a tire strategy move. That is just speed on the pit lane overall. Is going to put Marin to the lead, Basin into the number 2 spot. It's going to be the highest we've seen, the number 48 Ryko Toyota tonight. And then Sean Conklin and Matt Busa will line up on row number 2. You're not noticing Ray Alfala, who is the driver who led 13 laps early in this race. He had fallen to the number 9 spot before the yellow and lost maybe one more in the process. He's going to restart around the number 10 position. So 72 laps to go for your top split drivers. Sebastian Marin, already a race winner, ×3 on the season. Looking for more as we go back underway.
And there might have been some wheel spin with Quentin Warman. Car got sideways as he was going through the gears. Now outside is Cody Bias. He's going to be in the middle, 3 wide, now 4 wide offset. Entering turn 2, Alfala makes a move up to 8th place, and it's still 3 wide back there. But Busa stepping underneath Dylan Basin, and this is the point where Marin, off of the initial start, he couldn't do it, but this time he can breathe fresh.
Looked like a lot of the field trying to sort in line quicker than we did on the initial start of the race. Mostly down to 2x2, except for this one spot on the racetrack. It's for about 14th position. In the middle of that one, looks like it's Daniel Falkingham. Center picture there. To the outside, it's basically impossible to miss the bright number 21. That's Thomas Lloyd up on the outside of the racetrack. So all of this just outside of the top 10. Aggressive. Everybody made the decision to come down pit road that time for 4 tires amongst the race leaders. There was no strategy variance at all. And number 3 wide again, this time in the middle, it's going to be the number 1.
The toughest, best racing always comes in the mid-pack, the most aggressive, maybe the most annoying if you're one of the competitors trying to get those positions. But up front, we are seeing a battle for the lead with Dylan Basin trying to run down Sebastian Marin. Look, this track offers 2 distinct grooves, potential for passing. It's just a matter of Basin being able to get it done here soon after this restart on the fresher tires.
We talked earlier about where we stand on strategy. When we took a look at our Coca-Cola race analysis, we said 58 to 62 laps. We have already learned this year, Kenneth, that you can get a little bit more out of that. We've seen some fuel mileage shockers on the year. The restart was at 73-ish laps to go, so that would be really on the far edge, but we have been surprised before, so we would be remiss to not mention that we're at least in the gray area.
Well, remember what happened in Chicagoland? That was a big whirlwind for all of us. We expected the top leaders to cycle back around, and then all of a sudden Kwame Scott saved 66 laps worth of gas to be able to sail on to the finish. I mean, you're going to see a lot of these drivers push it as far as they possibly can. I mean, this is only lap 7 of the run. But, I mean, they're going to be at that sweet spot where if there are no yellows, they're going to look for the least amount of time to which they can cycle out on the tires and have the freshest tires of them all. But who's to say some drivers weren't saving fuel under that most recent yellow to make it? It's going to be pretty much a far cry for those that are saving. They may need another yellow and staying out for track position to save more fuel. However, for all of those, if it stays green, I think the teams are already speaking about when that sweet spot will be inside 20, maybe 15 laps to go, that they can cycle out with enough time to make up their track position.
And for some, it's situational. We talked about Matt Busa and his position in the points and what he may need. It may take a victory in top split to make it. If he's in that situation where they just have to risk it, is now the time to start saving. It's these decisions that have to go in. Everyone will be in their different strategic situation depending on where you are in points right now.
A lot of drivers, not that long ago, you would just look at splitting the number, right? If it's 75, you'd pit around lap, 37 or so, pit in the middle and get the job done with. But now drivers tend to skew a little bit later than that center point, trying to minimize time in the pit box for the final stop and fuel, feeling like less time in the box, despite running longer and therefore a little bit slower lap times at the end of their first run. It's a fair trade-off for having a quicker pit stop and then fresher tires that they could be very aggressive with on the back half of that one. But look at the top two pulling away. It was Basin who was the instigator. Busa was able to get back around him and now is wanting to challenge Sebastian Marin for the lead once more. Busa was the leader before the yellow. He'll go to the outside and with a big head of steam leads at the stripe. Busa going to try to clear into turn one. Looks like he's going to get the job done. Marin trying to hang with him on the bottom, but if Busa can get the run off the corner, he's clear, and he does.
And that's great positioning for Matt Busa, the way he set up that pass, just hanging on the right rear of Sebastian Marin, not necessarily taking air off the spoiler, but having enough to side draft him once he got alongside and using the momentum from turn 4 to get out to the outside and make that move in 1 and 2. Here's a look at the second split replay. Oh, it was trouble. But I don't know if it was coming down pit road, hit the apron transition, and the car just got out from underneath him, set up into the outside wall, and that'll bring second split under certain duress. Well, I was talking about Kwame Scott's Chicagoland strategy. Looks like we've already got drivers saving, and this is from a driver 10th in points in Seth Noel. So this is a why not to make it to the end.
Whoa. Both ends of the racetrack, clutch and coast. Seth is running right now in the number 19 position on the racetrack. It's also worth noting he is on the same strategy. Look how early there for the clutch and coast. Wow. I mean, that's 5+ seconds. He pitted with everybody else the last time. So his last pit stop number of lap number 25 is the same as Busa, as Marin, and as Morton as your leaders. But, Alan, it's pretty obvious. Look at the gap out front. I mean, he's mid-pack, but you'd think he's running 34th out of 33 cars. With the way that gap looks, very clearly a defining line between maybe drivers who are wanting to save and those in the top 18, who I assume, the way that gap is growing, are not currently doing this type of fuel saving.
And Seth is a driver that came in 10th in the standings, plus 383 to the cut line. So nothing to lose, and maybe because of it, they've got nothing to lose on strategy and just trying to put this thing on fuel, hoping it goes green and hoping the strategy hits them and they collect a checkered flag. Again, it's situational for all these drivers.
We mentioned that we would have a couple of our drivers available, and that also counts as Mr. Ryan Vargas for our Countdown to Green crew hanging out. So, Ryan, we're doing a lot of chatting about fuel saving. We said that our fuel number was, or the ideal fuel window, 58 to 62 laps. These drivers all attempting to push it above the number 70, but we saw Kwame Scott and 9 others surprise us before. What goes into that clutch and coast and trying to figure out how much saving is, mathematically feasible and how all that equates into trying to get to the checkered flag first?
Well, you see what Seth's doing. He's clutch and coasting for several seconds at a time. It's not like one of those things where he's clutching and rolling for maybe a second or two. No, I mean, you're looking in the ballpark of 4 or 5.5 seconds going into one, and that's a product of that flat turn 1 and 2. You have to back off that entry into the corner. Now, it's going to kind of hurt his lap time. You're going to see him kind of, as you see right now, he is in the mid-pack. track. But if you're a guy like Seth Knoll, even if you can't make it to the end, if you could stretch that fuel just a bit longer, take a quick splash of gas, you might be able to leapfrog a lot of the cars you're running with and maybe end up in that mid top 10 range. But look, if he's saving that much fuel trying to do that, who's to say he doesn't just risk it for the biscuit and go all the way to the end and try to hopefully catch a lucky yellow and catch some of these guys out when they do inevitably have to pit.
It may not be, exactly a replica, Ryan, in this race, but we've seen times as split number 2 is going to get back underway where you have a little bit more of an obvious option between a one-stop strategy and a 2. And we've seen drivers make a one-stop strategy work, but the drivers who pitted twice are that much quicker because they're not saving, they're on better tires, and in the end, 2 stops is quicker than 1. This isn't an exact replica. Here we're talking about 1 or none, it seems, but how can you try to find the balance between, if it takes me this much saving to get there, then am I just going to get past in the end at all?
Well, I mean, we're seeing the tires come into play here, right? We're watching these guys go all over the racetrack. You saw Sebastian up there. He's running in, I would say, the 6th lane, considering how wide turns 1 and 2 are, as we see the restart happening in the second split there. But now, right there, Matt Busa, he's all the way up. I mean, what is that, 5-6 lanes above the preferred racing groove? And that's just a product of that inside lane rubbering in. So tires are wearing. That's going to come into effect here. So, yes, Seth Knoll may be playing a big brain strategy here, but at the end of the day, if these guys are going to be coming and lapping anywhere in the ballpark of, 3.5 seconds a lap faster than you are, eventually they are going to catch you, and you are going to have to try and push that fuel that you did save just a little bit harder to try and stay ahead of them.
Spinner down in split number 2. Certainly going to lead to a caution. What a save, though. There is a yellow despite the big save for the 15. That one is going to be worth the second look. We'll check back into with that one in a moment, but second yellow of the night down there in split number 2. Meanwhile, in top split, Matt Busa was able to go to the lead. He's pulled now a 0.3 of a second advantage over Marin second, Morton third, Basin fourth, and Conklin P5. And we are going to be halfway home. Not this time, but the next time by.
And that's the best case scenario, to have yourself go into a near spin, you save the car, and the yellow comes out at the right time. Why? Is because sometimes when iRacing freezes the results and the positioning, you can still keep your track position. Even with that slider, maybe you lose 1 or 2 spots, but you don't go all the way to the back of the field. So a wonderful save, and I wanted to give one more impression on that Seth Noel type of strategy. Seth Noel's clearing points. He understands that regardless of where he finishes, he's good. As we watch this replay, middle 3 wide and turns 3 and 4, it's Davis that ends up going around for the slide, and it's potential help here off of 4 right there. Inside car just nabs the quarter panel on the left side, goes around for the spill. But with Seth Noel, he's good on points. If he knows he's going to make it a free agency, and if he does make the championship series, he's pushing the limits of strategy now, potentially to gather info and intel to use it in the championship series. If he's in a position like this, and he's in a position where he can save and clutch and get to the end, why not do a strategy like that and learn some things from it? I like that call from Seth.
Potential points implications for Gossett, who was the driver who was involved as, not the instigator, but the driver who turned the other car, because he comes into tonight 27th of the points. So if there is any damage that's going to have some lingering impacts on Tommy Gossett's machine, that could make his night more interesting than he would want. He is 31 above the cut line in the number 27 position coming into this race. The other driver involved in that one, Maverick Davis, not in a position to be able to advance. He's down in the low 100s, which, it sounds like it's out of the conversation. It is mathematically, but when you take a look at how many different drivers competed on the year, well, not that bad, as the total participant number pushing near 2,000 for the entire season here in the qualifying series.
Yeah, that's a lot. And to think about the amount of splits that we've had, the whole season being about points, the whole season being about what splits you're running. I mean, if you take the risk to be in any other split, you take the risk doing any other things in strategy or just running around other cars in certain ways. I mean, you understand fundamentally that any of those moves can take you out. Anything bad that goes down in the race could eventually bounce you out of the top 30, but you're going to give it all that you can. And I think of drivers like a Jacob Wilkerson in this position or a Daniel Nanny who dropped back to 29th and what they have to do to turn this race around to their favor to be able to gain the amount of points necessary to stay above the top 30. So we watch Garrett Lowe and Quentin Warman engage in battle and potentially a trifecta here for 5th.
And that's what I love the other end of that, Kenneth, is seeing who's stepping up, right? We know Matt Bussa is in a very tough position, but we don't know. We don't exactly know what a top split win could do to maybe get him to that 30th line. But even a guy like Garrett Lowe, he didn't come into this race comfortably, but now comfortably running in the top 5, racing against maybe likely champion of the qualifying series, Quentin Warman, doing one of his best, putting one of his best performances on when it counts the most right now. A guy like Garrett Lowe, we're seeing people up their game when it counts the most.
Well, we were just talking about Tommy Gossett down there in split number 2 and how hopefully his night doesn't get a little bit more complex with that accident. Well, he's got the Stars and Stripes paint scheme on that machine down there in split number 2. The production truck always hunting for some good paint schemes, and I think we spent a lot of last week talking about the paint scheme that you see in the battle for 5th and 6th up top, and that's Quentin Warman with the old school kind of Kellogg's inspired 67 machine in this race. Well, Tommy Gossett's got the red, white, and blue down there in split 2.
And shout out to Drip as well. I mean, we talked about Luke Crane's Dale Jr. hat. How about a Dale Jr. shirt and a Jordan hat with it? That's some style right there.
Look, this is something, maybe we're not all, the best iRacers, the best sim racers. We all can appreciate a good paint scheme. Tommy Gossett has some of the best. Quentin Warman has some of the old school kind of Hendrick vibes he's been giving to us every single week. A lot of us can appreciate that, especially coming from the real world side and growing up race fans. We love that stuff. Shout out to Tommy Gossett. He put out a great video today just telling his story about what sim racing, what iRacing in this series means to him, the ability to compete on a level like this and what it would mean to be on a team in the championship series. He's got to get there first, but a heck of a backstory for that young man.
So second split on the bottom back underway as they've had a couple of yellows now pretty close together, putting their pace behind where we are in split number 1. We will bring you the finish to both at least splits 1 and 2. And then again, we are not going off the air tonight until we have your top 30 drivers who are headed to eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Championship Series free agency. We're used to the couple of months off, the qualifying series or the Road to Pro ladder that used to be running through the winter and then having a couple of weeks. The first week of the championship series is May 19th. It's less than a month away. That free agency period is going to go fast. Kenneth, we've already seen a lot of notable drivers who re-qualified for the championship series based on their finishing position last year, already announced deals with teams. So it is going to happen very quickly. What a whirlwind it would be for a bubble driver to go one day from fighting for your life to the next day doing the same thing, but trying to land your ride with limited time.
And that's why this final race matters so much, because you have to perform at a high level if you're in that points situation. But even if you're not and you're comfortably there, you still have to prove to all of these teams that you can be there with the best of the best as a marketable driver and as a driver that's valuable to those kinds of teams. It's battle for the lead on the bottom for split 2. Kenny Brady making the move up front.
Kenny Brady top split a week ago, but with some of the different drivers appearing here, Kenny Brady dropping down into second split. So we had the conversation of, some drivers, Nichols, Honeycutt, and others moving up a split. It means that more points are available, but the competition is stiffer. Kenny Brady, for a guy who has been a competitive car in top split, 24th at points coming into tonight, doing exactly what I would expect, right? If you've got a guy who can compete in top split, you go down to split number 2, you cannot do anything other than be a top 5 car. And right now he's doing just that as the race leader.
I mean, mentioned his success from earlier in this campaign. I mean, winning Auto Club in his split and standing out in those final few laps of an overtime restart, and a driver that, in this first split has done rather well. Chicagoland was a high performance for him, especially early on, had a very quick race car, and you got to do what's asked of you. If you end up in second split, the one thing you can do to solve an issue like that is just keep winning and keep doing well on the sim. You just have to respond by locking in harder. There's the battle for second. Galata taking the inside of Ryan Doucette, and we know Doucette needs a good run. Minus 15 to the top 30. He won at Bristol earlier on this season, so sure, he's going to play heavy defense here in Galata for that runner-up spot.
That's the battle for that runner-up spot right now is Galata down on the inside trying to make the move on Doucette. They're still side by side. Curious if they stay like that long enough for maybe a Timothy Holmes, a Patrick Moose, even a Jose Solis Jr. Those drivers 4th, 5th, and 6th position, they are not that far off and could make that for an interesting battle. There are 43 laps to go in second split. Meanwhile, top split, Conklin got a bit of the fence that time off before because we have pit stops. Matt Busa, the first driver under green to pit road tonight. It's 38 laps since they last pitted. It is 36 laps to go. How quickly do others respond?
I don't know if other drivers are going to respond here, Alan, at least a little bit later. If they can hold out for as long as possible, it's all the chase for the fresh tires. Matt Busa hoping this undercut can give him a big advantage, especially early in the run.
It's all about how everyone reacts. Matt Busa choosing basically to split this last stint, right? As we heard, 72 to go when we started, just 36 to go, 35 to go now. No one seems to be following Matt Busa just yet. We have another car on pit road, so we have some takers. So maybe it's open the window and expecting the undercut to be effective if everyone's going to come and chase him now.
Lloyd and Reynolds pitting that time. Also over the radio, Quentin Warman in the number 4 spot says he will be coming to pit road. That proves to be factual. He is in this time. So at least 4 takers already. And again, a handful of them coming from inside of the top 10. So that is, to an extent, a vote of confidence in this strategy. This is, again, what we're used to seeing. It's basically right in the middle of the run. But as we mentioned earlier, some drivers are now going to opt to go longer, pit later, but have a shorter pit stop on their final one. We'll see who the next driver down and in is. Is it possibly Basin or Morton? It is going to be both of those drivers. So Morton and Basin down pit road, 2 more cars from inside of the top 7.
I think this is the discussion that these teams and drivers have been having over the last few minutes, the last few 10 minutes. You can expand that longer than after the last yellow, and when the restart came out is when the right sweet spot is. And here in this type of strategy, you have to find the right amount of time where you come down pit road, you get fresh tires, but not only do you get fresh tires as Marin comes in from the lead off of turn 4, but you have to give yourself enough time to cycle through traffic. If you choke yourself out with 5 laps to go and you're on a strategy still cutting through the top 10 and you're not negating on your own position coming in, it's going to be hard to be able to find your way through the field in a matter of moments. So you have to find that time to enter where you know you have enough time to leave, and around 35 to go is where the drivers feel that is that sweet spot.
Garrett Lowe still out there on the racetrack. Again, with his points position, I thought he'd play a little bit more conservative. He seems like he's doing the extreme of this undercut, overcut scenario in terms of staying out there on the racetrack. But someone that has to guarantee themselves a good run, staying out there right now, maybe a bit risky. We'll see how it plays out.
Just saw 2 different strategies on pit road. Sean Conklin into the box with a much quicker pit stop than that of Sebastian Marin in the number 23 machine. Marin came down, did right sides only, guys, but is still in the box.
That's a black flag. It is a penalty for Sebastian Marin. He was spending more than 35 seconds in. I just noticed the black flag. And it might have been guys from that entry on pit lane. He locked up the tires, and you're just trying so hard to minimize your speed to the pit road limit without losing a lot of time just riding on the brake pedal. Marin got a little bit too eager, and one of our most dominant drivers of the series now under a lap from the main group.
So that is a big moment there. It would also explain he was kind of shaking the car down pit road, and at first they thought he missed his box till I remembered he had the number 1 stall, and I would think, you probably wouldn't be messing around on pit lane under a green flag cycle. That explains it. He had a penalty no matter what. So Sebastian Marin, one of the best drivers all year long and who is your race leader no more than 5 laps ago, just now getting off of the pit lane after spending more than 1 minute and 18 seconds total on pit road. Basically in the blink of an eye, no longer with a chance to win this race.
And that's a hard hit for Marin. I mean, we talk about these drivers that are very comfortable in points to make the top 30 in eNASCAR free agency in a few weeks' time, but you still want to show to these teams that you've got what it takes, and you still want to show out. You want to be recency bias driver where they see you as much as possible, even until this final race. And for momentum-wise for Marin, that could be a killer if we do not have any further yellows to get him back on the lead lap. And the worst part about it, he's 2 laps down. All these drivers that came down pit road are fighting for a lucky dog or to unlap themselves in this strategy. A yellow flies, Marin is going to be in deep trouble for the end of this race.
Garrett Lowe continuing to stay out there. I mean, he's been in the top 5, top 6 of this race the entire time. So he's kind of the outlier here in terms of the strategy. The others maybe just throwing sort of a Hail Mary, kind of coming up with something, trying to do the opposite of everybody else. But Garrett Lowe, really surprising me right now that he's still out there compared to his competitors throughout this race.
Yeah, I think a lot of the drivers in the midfield, you're right, are just going to try to stay out, catch something here, unless they're playing defense onto points. Let's take a second look at Sebastian Marin. This is the pit entry that led to the black flag speeding penalty. Right there, locks it up to the line. I got him at about 60 miles an hour when he was coming to the stripe. It's not a hard cutoff. There is a little bit of variance there, guys, but pit road speed is 45. So 60 at the line. Even if you're hard on the brakes and maybe slower in that first sector, you're not getting away with that one frequently, and that is what did him in. Again, 45, really slow for one of the pit road speed options that these drivers have been dealing with, and it goes unsaid often how many mistakes could be made during the green flag pit cycle, and that goes to show you that it can happen to just about anybody. Overall, for the pit strategy, the cars who have pitted are in the minority. The leader of the pit cycle is Quinton Warman, as Garrett Lowe now pits from the race lead, but now excluding the car you're looking at right now, still waiting on the top, we'll call it 21 drivers who still need to come down and pit. So more cars yet to pit than have, and we're already inside of 25 laps to go. With Lowe on pit lane, it gives the race lead for the first time to Michael Cozy Jr.
And back what we saw with Marin, and what you're going to see here from these drivers that come down pit road like we saw Lowe do, is that on iRacing, I mean, we're talking about minute, small differences that can make a driver great and can give a driver a small advantage. Pit road is one of them. You enter on pit road, you can go in a few miles an hour faster in a leniency point of about 1 to 2 seconds before the limit officially becomes a hard cut. And if you're speeding by then on pit road, then you get the black flag. Drivers are trying to reach that limit where they can be maybe 5 to 6 miles an hour over and then get to the limit in that 1 to 2 second period. Marin got a little too overeager there, but a lot of drivers are trying to find that limit, and that means hopping on the brakes hard, using that transition to turn the car. And oftentimes, I mean, tracks like Texas and a lot of other mile and a halves, very difficult to make that happen at a 100% efficacy rate.
Well, don't let his points showing be a skew to what this driver has been able to do. Unfortunately, has missed 4 of the races, Alan. That's why Caden Honeycutt is not a driver we're talking about in the top 30, but obviously an immensely talented race car driver, competing full-time in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, but also with a big history here on the service, one of those sim-to-reality stories, and through the pit cycle, he's inside of the top 5 in his first top split start of the year.
Yes, Championship Series driver in the past and now in the Truck Series, Truck Series winner, as we see pit strategy and pit stops continue as Michael Cozy Jr. coming in. Cody Bias now taking lead. Garrett Maines. I still have my eye on Seth Noel in there in 8th. Was doing all that fuel savings. We have to see how that plays out and how many people may have also been in on that strategy thinking, can they stretch it with 21 laps to go and stay in front of everybody that's already pitted?
Remember, the risk is the longer you stay out, the bigger the benefit would be if you catch the yellow, but if you don't, you basically take yourself out of this race. I think at the point now, Kenneth, where the first cars who pitted under green were about 15 or so laps ago, I think we're kind of at the point where if you're staying out to this point, it's not the, I'm going to pit a little bit later than halfway through the run to get better tires at the end. We're kind of committed to the, we're hoping to catch a yellow. We're trying to stretch it to the end. Again, 55 laps on the current stint. They're trying to hit a number of about 74 to be able to go this entire race without any additional pit stops.
I mean, it's been fun to watch the way the drivers have sort of taken this strategy up in arms and have embraced this long run, and I would call it ultra long range for all of these drivers in the field. And Noel has been done saving. That run in turns 1 and 2, he did not drop the clutch in. So either maybe some confidence in the draft that he can hold on, or possibly just waiting to save a little bit later. And he's doing the Kwame Scott. I mean, we saw this in Chicagoland, and we had no idea that any one of those cars could save enough to make it to the end. Noel's trying to prove us all wrong in a money lap designed car, by the way, trying to get one of those spots for E-Racer in the championship series through free agency if he makes it through.
Thinking back to that Kwame Scott reference, we were like, what is he, crazy? What's going on when he was doing that? And then after the race, he told us, look, we had a number. We figured it out when we could hit the gas. We knew the whole time, it sounded like. So Seth, Noel, and team, maybe they know a lot more than we do right now. We just know what the estimated pit window was, how many laps they had to go. Right now, big question, but maybe they know more than we do, and he's going to coast to victory. We'll just have to wait and see on this fuel deal.
My favorite part of the Kwame Scott race win was, to your point, Alan, we started the run talking about how, X cars are pitted. That's going to be your net leader. Everybody else still yet to come down pit road. They have to. And then about 10 laps later, we said, well, we think they have to come down pit road. Surely, right? And then eventually, it wasn't just 1 or 2. It was the top 10, I think, total in the end. So made me look silly. I will not make any definitive fuel statements until otherwise noted. With 15 laps to go the next time by, the number of cars who have yet to pit on this run is still at 18. Quentin Warman, the net leader, meaning the highest running car who has pitted and can certainly get to the end of the race. Cody Bias has led the last 6 laps. He is down pit road this time through. And want to remind you, this is the final race of this qualifying series. When we're done tonight, the official points and everything else eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series can be found at iRacing.com/eNASCAR/qualifying.
When we were talking about that Kwame Scott race, it was stage 1 denial for all of us, just trying to fathom what was going down there. There's Cody Bias on pit road, still searching for his first top 10 since Bristol earlier on in the season. Had a pretty good run there at the last Great Coliseum, even though came down to some late race shenanigans, a lot of the drivers. And I mean, we've been watching some of these few in the top 5, and the way they are saving in turn 1, that let-off point, you can go around some of those signs before turn 1, and that is the corner that you do have to let off the gas a lot and try to arc that corner in. These drivers are not even at the end of the straightaway in the quad oval, and they are hopping on the clutch and going down to 4th gear. They know this is a huge saving moment, and in turns 3 and 4, I mean, they're trying to use as much of that to save as much as possible, and the battle for 3rd, even under saving, is going down.
Garrett Maines, a great year coming into tonight, 3rd in the point standings. Going to get back into a championship series, somebody who's still active, very much so on the service, special events, official racing, and of course on this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series, there is the clutch and coast. That is very brief compared to some of the long clutch and coasts we saw earlier in the run. Let's see what it sounds like in turn 1.
I mean, that's coming off with the last kink in the quad oval that they started to save.
That's the longer side. I don't know, Kenneth. It looks to me, and maybe Ryan Vargas, who's listening in, can help us out with this one, Ryan. It seems like the clutch and coast, every time we hear it, there's a lot more of it in 1 and 2 than 3 and 4. Why would that be that end of the racetrack is a better place to clutch and coast for longer?
Well, it comes down to the biggest thing here is turn 1 and 2 is a lot flatter, right? So you're not able to carry as much speed, so you're able to lift a lot sooner. You're able to basically lift, once you kind of exit that quad oval a little bit, you're able to dump the clutch, make sure you kind of roll in there nice and steady. But I saw Garrett Maines there, kind of one of those things where when you do have the car shut off, you're not able to kind of use the engine brake to help the car rotate. We saw Garrett Maines kind of lose the handle a little bit on his race car going through 1 and 2, and that's really just a product of having the car just rolling, free rolling. When it's like that, you're not able to get that rotation, so you're sacrificing a little bit of that. Watch right there, he's kind of pushing the nose in the center of the corner, so sacrificing a little bit of that handling to try and get that longer fuel mileage.
Should also start looking at what the gaps are amongst the cars again, which is 16 strong, who have not pitted since that lap number 25 trip down to the pit lane under the caution flag. Maines 2.1 seconds over Kwame Scott in second. There you go. You see the last pit stop lap. The 28 would indicate that they came back down pit road and topped off one lap after pit road opened for everybody else. So is that lap of difference going to give Scott, Navarro, Pfeffer an advantage over a Maines, a McCandless, or a Garza? Those are things to watch for as we're inside of the final 10.
A lot of that also depends on how much they saved on the last yellow flag of the race, and I'd imagine that given the strategy that these drivers have employed, Evan, they were doing that as soon as the yellow flag came out. They were immediately set on that strategy, understanding that in topspeed, you've usually gone green. For the most part, we've had a lot of these longer races on mile-and-a-halves that don't come down to late race yellows, but you always have to keep that in mind as a team, and that's why in the championship series, when a lot of these drivers are able to move in, it becomes really difficult to separate yourself because of strategies like this, and you have to be on your A game at all times.
Great run for Blake McCandless right now. As we hear him going through the corners, we're not hearing as much of the let-off. Again, these teams doing their calculations, taking their strategy. We're not hearing the let-off, guys, at least not with Blake McCandless. Up front, I'm just looking at the times here. Kwame Scott is doing what he does, and he's either picking it up or Garrett Maines is really letting out, because that lead that Garrett Maines has is shrinking.
On board with Scott in second. The last lap for Maines, a 31.221. It was a 30.758. I mean, that's a half a second nearly difference between those top two. And if McCandless has stopped saving entirely, he either can't make it or he knows he can, but there's obviously some discrepancies here between who's more comfortable and who isn't. You can see the gap there, and those lap times I just mentioned. It's going to be another equally as big chunk taken out this lap also.
Well, and one thing I'm looking at right here, Evan, is look at the line Kwame's running right here. He's able to get that car a lot lower than Garrett Maines. He has a better driving race car right here. So not only are they both saving, but Kwame's able to really get that rotation. So I don't know if it's really him backing up that entry, but right now Kwame is running down Garrett Maines, and it's not a matter of if, but when.
And behind them is Andrew Navarro. So a car that was formerly saving like McCandless and Pfeffer and like Garrett Maines, but now has pushed into the go, go, go strategy. Go as fast as you can. He sees the top two going at it with 4 laps to go. I think they're just giving it all that they've got, whether they understand they can make it to the checkered flag or not. So this could quickly become a 3-horse race.
That's what I love about this. At some point, yes, you have to save, but at some point you have to go and get the lead, right, and make the pass and hit the gas and make sure you're in position for the victory in case everybody makes it. So that's the dilemma that they're in right now. Kwame Scott doing it again. We've seen him do it before here in the qualifying series. It looks like he's trying to do it again. It's just a matter of now that he has what looks like going to be a clean pass for the lead, can he get to the end?
Squeezed on each other's door. These two drivers in very different spots. Maines a top 3 car in the points. Kwame Scott down in the high 40s. They've both been to victory lane already this season. But who's going to take it in the final race at Texas? On the bottom, Kwame Scott through to the race lead. 2 laps to go this time by.
And that interaction lost him at least a tenth or two. For Andrew Navarro, I mean, he was just nearly a full second faster than those two drivers because of that one interaction. But now this is great news for Kwame Scott. He's got a buffering car in Garrett Maines. Navarro only has a lap and a half to go. Scott trying to make some heroic magic under fuel for the second time this season.
Still looking at a total of about 12 cars who are going to push it to 73 laps before this one is done. The white flag is in the air. This race is official. Are they all going to come back around for the final mile and a half and take the checkered flag? Maines saving. Navarro trying to get third. That's going to be the battle, but it's behind Kwame Scott. Intervals look good. Underpowered at turns 3 and 4. Kwame Scott trying to win 2 out of the final 3 races on this season. It's another pit strategy masterclass for Kwame Scott in Texas. Thomas Lloyd over the radio says, I don't even know what to say. You're just amazing. Another fuel strategy blitz puts Kwame Scott once more in qualifying series victory lane?
The question you ask is how? How does he do it? I don't even know how he can fathom that much of a saving strategy. He's out of fuel, but that doesn't matter. He made it to the checkered flag 2 out of the last 3 in this next gen part of the schedule. And Kwame Scott on a last gasp. Remember, Contender 2024 made it on a photo finish to the Championship Series free agency, and he's done magic again here at Texas, this time fuel strategy for the win.
Sputtered on the backstretch. Does he have enough fuel for a burnout? Let's find out. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. Kwame Scott, your race winner in Texas, joins Garrett Maines and Sebastian Marin as the only other multi-time top split race winners on the year. And that's all you're going to get. There is no fuel left in the tank. Let's look at your Coca-Cola move of the race, and because we can't show you the last 73 laps condensed into a few moments, it's the battle for the race lead in the final moments.
I mean, this is just wonderful. The way he set up the pass, momentum off turn 4, uses the half lane to gather all the speed and takes a note to the bottom. And great defensive driving from Garrett Maines. He did all that he could, Alan, even though he was saving more than everyone else, to pinch Kwame Scott to the bottom and make him earn that pass, and Kwame Scott did.
And think about the timing of knowing when to go up there and make that pass, knowing that he ran out just after the finish line. If he does it too early, he doesn't do it. That just a masterclass in saving fuel and knowing when to go in the right time and getting another victory.
Well, split number 2 is still underway, but it may be a less dramatic finish. White flag in the air in this one. John Hall, the current race leader, has an 1/8 of a second advantage. Somebody else who came into tonight below the cut line, I think in a mathematical elimination after John's season started with a poor result in Daytona. And even if it's not enough to boost him into a qualifying transfer position, ending the season with authority, John Hall, split 2 winner here in Fort Worth.
Great drive for John Hall. I mean, the season that he's had, a lot of mid-pack runs, plenty of bad luck, other crashes that he's been involved in. And for Nexus Esports, John Hall to get that victory here at Texas, a fantastic job. And just pulling away at the end of that, great job for John Hall. In the first win, why not do it in the last one? Just get some momentum in this final race.
Yeah, good for him. Good for that young man. He says he shares the love of racing and sim racing and gaming with his father. So a generational win for John Hall to get it here in this final race.
You see the congratulations roll in. It's a popular win there in split number 2. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR, as John Hall has got the win in split 2. We also talked about Kenny Brady, guys, a top split driver. He gets 4th in this one after being bumped down to split number 2. It's going to be a good points night for him as well. Just enjoying the burnout. We didn't get one in top split. I was letting him have that one as he celebrates. Let's take a look first at your results now for split number 2. So John Hall, your race winner over Jose Solis Jr. and Patrick Moose. And again, to be mentioned, Kenny Brady, 24th at points tonight, but bumped to split number 2. That should be enough points there with the P4 to make sure that there are no issues there. He's added Mitchell Hunt. That's a driver who's been at the top level in the past. Doucette, Giglio, Shang, Armstrong, and Vila, your top 10.
Look at everyone else in second split. Maverick Davis, Logan Helton, Tommy Gossett. We mentioned his story and trying to stay above the top 30. It's 13th here in split 2. Other notable drivers, Dylan Cardenas had a chance to win at Michigan last week. He's 16th. Justin Levine in 18th. Timothy Holmes was close around that cut line for a majority of this final stretch and then got bounced around a little bit. He's in 19th and top 20, and then everyone else beneath the top 20. A lot of those a lot down, including Nate Stewart, driver who we've seen jump into the top 11 in points entering Texas.
You've seen the likes of Danson and Phillip there, 21st and 22nd, to make a couple of qualifying efforts. At the bottom, Bowers, Davis, Pataska, those drivers not able to get to the full distance here in the qualifying finale from Texas Motor Speedway. So that is your full race results from split number 2. Let's take a look at the pass for the win down in split number 2. As you saw the finish, here's how we got there as John Hall was running in 3rd.
See those two up front battling for the lead, and we almost saw this earlier with Matt Busa in split number 1, trying to get it 2 for 1 in the exact same portion of the racetrack, that slower turn 1 and 2 area. He bounces, he gets through the middle, underneath Kenny Brady, has the momentum at the exit of turn 2 to get around the car below. What a drive for John Hall to sneak through the middle, make the space work, middle 3 wide. That's just hard racing here at Texas, and breathes in the fresh air right in front of the both cars.
Took advantage a bit, Allen, of those 2 other drivers fighting, but what a way to finish it through the center.
Yeah, I mean, an aggressive move, but what it takes to get it done and get the victory. Great win for Hall.
So now we'll jump up with your Coca-Cola results for split number 1. Kwame Scott with his 2nd trip to victory lane on the year, and a thrilling to finish with Garrett Maines. Andrew Navarro's 3rd, Christopher Pfeffer 4th, and Blake McCandless in the number 5 spot. Kevin Champagne 6th, Michael Frisch 7th, and then Quinton Warman, who despite leading no laps in this race, is the highest finisher of those who pitted on the green flag cycle. Justin Campbell did not. He finishes 9th, and then Dylan Basin, 2nd highest finisher of your pitters. He's P10.
Lots of different stories in this second part of the ordering. Brian Mercurio 11th, Wyatt Tinsley in 12th, Daniel Falkingham dropped as far back as 31st under a long green flag run and recovers to a top 15. Blake Reynolds in 14th. Remember, those two kind of skirting close to the top 30 cut line, needing to break away from it all to stay in front and get into free agency. Matthew Morton 15th, and the rest of the top 20 and 21st on back. That includes the saving strategy from Seth Noel that did not work. Cody Bias, Daniel Nanny, Eddie Kerner, Caden Honeycutt, and then Sebastian Marin with that pit road speeding penalty puts it back to 30th.
If there was any question about Quinton Warman going for the title, the poor result for Marin finishes that conversation. Wilkerson, Alfala, and Rondeletto, those bottom 2 not making it the full distance. An unfortunate end of the night for Ray Alfala. Talked about him a lot earlier when he started this race in the number 2 position, but that is as far as he will get in this one. It is not going to be advancing. So let's start talking with some top finishers in this one, Alan. We'll start with you. You've got Garrett Maines, your P2 tonight in split 1.
Yeah, P2 for Garrett Maines. It was all about saving that fuel, when to go, how much to save. What's that like for you? We're listening. It was almost a race to go slow at points and then turning on at the end.
Yeah, you know, I knew as soon as the caution came out where the number was, and I knew you could stretch it. I knew I had the track position and, you know, the ability to make it happen. Just I tried to play in between the 2 strategies and like not lose too much track position early in case they wrecked, and that just did not pan out for me. I think I drove just like 10% too hard to start the run, and I was on the number from like 50 to go on, but I don't know, I just don't feel like I utilized the beginning of the run the proper way, and when we got down to 10 to go, got a tire warning, and I was not thinking anything of it, and then I looked up and saw Kwame was 7/10 a lap faster, and I was like, that 4 seconds is about to evaporate. And sure enough, with 2 to go, I just had nothing for him. I tried to save enough to like be able to challenge him, and I probably could have from a fuel perspective, but I had 1% tire when we ended. Like the right rear tread was at the last, you know, last little bit. So had I gone any harder, we would have gotten the blown tire on the last lap. So I consider myself lucky to have finished 2nd, and you know, that's how it goes sometimes. You couldn't have really expected it to pan out that way, and I think Kwame starting a lot deeper in the field just gave him the ability to you know, get the draft throughout that run, probably wear a little bit more of the right front instead of the right rear and keep it a little bit more balanced. And then he had the rocket ship boost there at the end to be able to make up the gap and come get me with 5 to go. So that's how it panned out.
Okay. Hey, P2 to end the qualifying series. Look forward to next month and the championship series. Garrett Maines, good night for you. Kenneth, I think you got one of our other winners.
A very happy John Hall, and a lot of his celebratory hugs and bumper hits after the checkered flag. I'm sure this was a big one for you, John, after a few weeks of struggles and trying to get to that moment. And take us through that 3-wide pass. I mean, you surged through the middle, orchestrating it from the entry of turn 1. How did you get that done?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say. There was no chance I thought I was winning this race. But the way the season's gone, I was like, oh, well, let's just get out of here with a top 10 and just kind of hang out and have a good time with the guys for one last race. But golly, the freaking Nexus machine was on rails. I couldn't even describe how it felt coming through the field there. I knew I had good pace after the first run of the race, and I was kind of hanging out there in 6th for a little while. And then we got the caution, which kind of bunched everybody back up. And I was like, oh, great, here we go. But no, I don't even know how it happened. I saw Pat get underneath Kenny there and kind of slowed them both up. And I thought with 10 to go, it was going to be really hard to get there. But once they started battling, I was like, all right, well, here's your window. Go take it if you want to win this thing. And yeah, I just sent that thing in there as hard as I could feel like I could and hoped I cleared Kenny on the top, and it ended up working out. So.
You know, everybody loves a triumphant story to the end of it. And John, for you to end this qualifying series on a win, how special is that, even given the context of the season, but a race all that just tonight, how special is that to end the season on a win?
Oh God, it's everything. I mean, I can't even describe how I'm feeling right now. I was literally shaking on the gas pedal coming through 3 and 4 in the last 5 laps there. It means a lot to me, especially, you know, how hard this season has been for me, just racing wise. Setup building wise, we've been really good, and I knew if I could just put it all together for one good race and kind of kept my head in it, I could really show up and have a good race with it. So yeah, it just going into the next year qualifying season, it's going to be really good. I think this really built my confidence up a lot to know I can run with the best guys on the sim, to be honest with you, and compete at a high level and take the checkered. So it means a lot. Thanks to Rabinstro for being on the car, the Nexus guys, eRacer Money Lap Challenge, and Cosmo with Splash and Go Graphics for being on the car and dealing with paint schemes and doing everything for us at Nexus, and doing everything for me too.
A special moment in Texas tonight, John. Congratulations on the win. Gonna give you credit for all the Miami Vice schemes, and hopefully we'll see you next time out. And I'm with Alan Cavana. And how did Kwame do it, Alan? You're with the race winner in Split 1.
That's the question. You know, sometimes we just say, we don't ask how, just how many. Well, Kwame, you've got 2 of these wins, and we're going to ask how. How the heck do you do it? How did you know this number? How did you do this again, my friend?
I couldn't tell you, man. I honestly couldn't tell you. I'm just, with how this year has gone, how this whole season has gone for me, even if I don't make it into the top 30, I'm just happy to, you know, come home with 2 wins, you know. That was the strongest possible finish I could imagine. Yeah, and who knew? I'm really lucky that it was basically the same exact scenario as Chicagoland.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, I don't even know what to say, to be honest.
Yeah, summing it up. Look, you finished with a win in the qualifying series. How did you know when to go? Because everyone's trying to save fuel, almost go as slow as possible. At some point, you got to hit the gas and make the winning pass. How do you know when that moment is? Because you timed it perfectly.
I don't. That's the thing. Like, you truly, like, I didn't really. It was like, it was all, I just kind of winged it, like, hoping that, you know, because I didn't want to sit and ride in that pack, like, the whole time and, you know, possibly not even catch Navarro or Garrett. I just, you know, they were, you know, my spotter once again, Terrell Baker, coming in clutch, reading the, you know, the fuel numbers to me, and it just seemed like I had a lot more to burn than everyone else. So, like, I kind of, like, you know, just, like, really picked and choose, like, what laps I pushed and what laps I didn't. And I mean, you'll have to watch the replay to see exactly how it worked out, but, like, it worked out. So.
Hey, you got the trophy again. Go celebrate with some Oreos. Kwame Scott, his 2nd win, and finishes the qualifying championship season strong.
Yes, sir.
But we are not done for your top splits. We watched the live finish for split number 1 and 2. Split 4, is still ongoing. We talked about how splits 4 and 5 have had appearances in the top 30 at points coming into tonight. Only Ethan Eckert was the only split 4 driver coming into tonight scored above the top 30 cut line. However, he is damaged after an accident in his race. So that is going to be one of your leading storylines. Also elsewhere, Ryan Andrew, 40th at points coming into tonight, is your split number 3 race winner. Going to be a maximum points night for him out of what was available in split 3. So several different storylines in splits 2, 3, and 4, which Kenneth may not shake up the entirety of our top 30, but I think is definitely going to have an impact on maybe those last handful of positions.
It's going to, because, I mean, that's the fascinating part about this new format with all the splits and the points and the drops that are included in that. You can be in the first several top splits and do literally everything possible in your talent to be able to move up to the top 30. And even if you're close, it could still be based off of what happens in all these other splits, and drivers who are in 3rd and 4th splits can still try their heroics. I mean, we've seen them hang around the top 30 for so long. And yeah, it maybe won't change in the large scale, but for minute amount of points, and we're talking about very tight points gaps going into tonight's race from Texas, I'd imagine it's going to be just as close, if not closer, for this one.
So they still got 16 laps to go. I mean, Alan, we might get a couple of restarts out of this. This is going to be good for us because, again, we are not leaving tonight until we could give you the top 30. So this is going to give us some racing action and, again, some top 30 implications to see what happens with Ethan Eckert down here in split number 4. Somebody else to look for also, Aaron Lee, 36th, 8 points, competed last week also in split number 4. He's 131 points out.
It just goes to show, I mean, you can't take a breath, a sigh of relief if your race is already done, right? You've already raced with nerves if you're in these first few splits, but it's not over, right? The top 30 is not determined yet. These races back here, the splits 4, 5, 3, 4, and 5, they have an effect on who will move on to that free agency. And so anyone still on the bubble line, if your race is already over, you can't breathe yet. We still have 14 more laps to go when we go green here in this race in the 4th split to determine, I mean, really who moves on and what happens with the qualifying series.
Well, a big update with Aaron Lee, who I mentioned was a split 4 driver last week and 36 hit points. He was bumped up to split number 3 this week and finished 2nd in that one. Max Brady, 38 hit points, finished 5th in split number 3. So a lot of good nights for drivers below the cut line, meaning that Ethan Eckert, we mentioned, struggling with an accident early in this race, is really going to have to hope that maybe some more drivers have some trouble. Let's try this. Coming to 14 laps to go in Texas. We're green with 4th split.
And it's mayhem, 3 wide before they get to turn 1. How about 4 wide? Again, we mentioned all the cautions potentially late. We could end up in eNASCAR overtime. Jackson Bice under fire. Kevin West making a move on the inside for 2nd to turn 3.
A lot of aggression off this restart. 3 wide into turn 3, multiple lanes back, trying to get as much as you can off of this restart. Meanwhile, the leader just pulling away and loving every second of this going on behind his mirror.
Ethesian's trying to get away up front. It was Ashley Kolinix who had made a 3 wide move, and they're still getting out of shape. That's Jake Phillips in the black 17. 4 wide down the back straightaway. There it is for the tail end of the top 10. Very inside is Ryan Johnson. Phillips again, way out of shape. He'll hang on, but it cost the 31 machine of Vieira.
Vieira got out of line there as soon as he was trying to get from the outskirts of 3 wide. And again, we talk about drivers that wash up high in 3 and 4. You carry so much speed, you can easily get the right front unsettled. And those outside cars have to react, whether they get into you or whether they find space to make a move on the outside. All of these mid-pack positions under fire. Kolinix and Jackson Bice going at it, but it's Thiesgens up at the front with 11 to go.
Kevin West 2nd, Sean Peleg in 3rd, and then it's Kolonix and Dart Your top 5 runners in this one. You can see a couple of drivers onto pit road with Coppinger and Clean, and a lot of drivers out of this. There was a must have been a big accident 92 laps ago. That's basically lap number 1. That must have taken out a lot of drivers in this race. You just look at that. Raymond, Mullins, Treppa, Demet and Arnold. Oh, and more trouble. Big accident with the 31 and the 7 of Jackson Bice also. And this yellow going to bridge us inside of the final 10.
The aggression here in fourth split, it never stopped ever since that last green flag waved. So maybe not a surprise there, but we have seen some hard racing ever since we've gone green here, and it's going to continue into less than 10 laps to go.
Guys, and that crash was building up from the middle of the back straightaway. It was Bice who got hit around by Bradley Wilson and was trying to save it the entire straightaway. Just keeping it together, wiggling in 3 and 4, and then it was 3 wide behind with Vieira, Aaron Brown, and a few other drivers. So here's the second look. That's the 7 car of Bice on the bottom, and then the car that sails underneath, but that's not the worry. It's right here. The car right behind just tries to make a move on the high side, minimal contact, and look at this save from Bice, keeping it off the inside wall. It's fine for now. He's still saving it, though, in turn 3, and then here comes the field.
So remember, there are multiple splits going on every week. I believe there are still 4 total races happening. We are watching split number 4. Now remember, there are points available throughout all of them. There are drivers in this 4th split who are near the cut line. So that is what we are waiting on, is for this race and maybe any others, depending on how close they are to split number 4, to finish before we will know who your top 30 are. So we cannot finalize that math until the drivers in this race are done. So that's why we are sticking with you through the end here of split number 4. Again, we already highlighted some of the major names we had seen last week. Aaron Lee compete in this split. He jumped up to split number 3 this week and finished in the number 2 position. But we did mention that it was Eckert who had the issues. Ethan Eckert, 23rd in points as a split 4 driver, was involved in an accident earlier in this split 4 race that we are watching. So obviously he is a driver that is at risk with being in an accident, and so many of the names on the right-hand side of our screen, Ken, if we've already called out, have had good nights. So that's why we have to wait really on Eckert or Fresh likely to kind of see where they end up on the bubble based on what happens here in split 4.
And that's going to be bounced around based on, again, these results from a lot of those drivers. We looked at where Ryan Doucette ended up in 2nd split, Aaron Lee, who finished 2nd in 3rd split. I mean, he was only 131 out, and maybe not enough to squeeze into the top 30, but enough to bounce drivers around. And that shuffling alone, coupled with the drop rounds that are calculated, it's enough to kind of move the waters a little bit, so the waves are pretty substantial to breeze a driver outside of that red line. And again, it just comes down to watching these races. And some drivers just hop off the sim, and usually they're done with it after races like this. But when you have your points on the line, I'm sure those drivers at the cut line, Alan, they're watching it with their friends, their teammates, literally anyone to watch it with, because they know it could come down to moments like this in this split.
Just like the rest of us, we're not going anywhere until we know this top 30. And we won't know the top 30 until the end of these races, because their points will factor into whether it factors into maybe it's their drop and it goes down, or the fact that others have had good nights in other splits, and the drivers here in 4th split, the few that were battling on that line, aren't having the best night. It all factors in, but until we know officially where they finish and the points are all tallied up, we will be with you until we know.
Ethan Eckert, name I've mentioned a couple times, is 22nd position at the moment after starting in 2nd. Colby Jackson, somebody else who may not be as much of a talking point because he was 61st coming into tonight, but Colby started this race on pole. He's down in 20th. I mean, Lane Hosler started 5th. He's 24th. So a lot of drivers who started at the front of the field here in split 4 fighting in the midfield for a lot of critical points. It's going to be 7 laps to go this time by for Thieskins and West on the front row. Green flag in the air. It's a much better start for the drivers on the bottom.
We've seen a lot of wheel spin over the few restarts that we have seen here in split number 4. A lot of drivers just carrying through the top end of 1st gear and 2nd gear. The car wiggles, and then when you stack up these lanes like you do, it could bring in lots of checkups, and then obviously the 3 and 4 wide. that we see off in the back straightaway.
Single file back to the battle for 4th and 5th. Ashley Kolonix and Nick Seiko in the battle back there, but your top 4 single file for a moment. Channing Balu with a pass on Kevin West. That's going to be an exchange for 3rd and 4th. Here comes Sean Peelig looking to the outside, but the 1 is even quicker. They're 3 wide behind them, but we've got a 3-way battle for the race lead up front.
This is exactly what Thiesgens wants to see, though, that fight for second between Balu and Peleg, but Peleg makes a move, making underneath. Rotation in turn 4, snags the spot, and still a car length within Thiesgens for the lead. Remember, we've talked about 1 and 2 being a different spot. Lunge in turn 1. Balu's got the lead.
We haven't seen a pass like that all night in any split. That was a late decision going into turn 1, and it worked for Channing Balu. What a great move.
Absolutely committing on that decision. And the fastest man in Texas right now is Balu. He caught up and got around Thiesgens and Peleg quick. Is there anybody else who has got that type of late race speed? You're on board with Kevin West. He made a spot on Nick Seiko a few laps ago. Does he have enough left to try to get up there and challenge for any of the spots in front of him? Balu not running away with it, but holding what is a 3-car length advantage. Going to be 3 laps to go this time by. There is some lap traffic on the horizon, which could be a factor.
And Sacco just made a move under Kevin West, a very slow exit turn 4. Just couldn't plant the throttle there, and the car wanted to go up the hill. So Sacco and Kolonix, they both make up the spots in 4th and 5th. And that's going to help out Thiesgens and Peleg to stay in the top 2 and top 3. They understand if they battle, it's going to suck everybody behind them in. And now they're engaging in combat.
All splits are done except for split number 4 right here, with a final couple of spots to advance to free agency on the line. 2 laps to go. Outside of the battle for the lead, Ethan Eckert, 22nd. If he stays there, that is likely not enough to stay inside of the top 30 and advance. Up front, Thiesgens and Moore still trying to get back to Balu, but the lapped car running blocker in turn 4.
Oh, there's a spinner off turn 4. Evan Hurdle's involved, but the white flag comes out from Texas, and there's no overtime in sight. Balu looking for the win.
Drivers were talking about overtime, but it did not fly before Channing Balu got to the white flag. Thiesgens, Peleg, that's a battle for second behind, but Channing Balu will take the final checkered flag of this qualifying season.
Well earned. Great pass for the lead. Fun ending.
Ethan Eckert picks up 3 additional spots in the final 2 laps after those accidents. And with a P19, we will wait. But Ethan Eckert, the storyline here in split 4, that may just be enough for Eckert to stay inside of the top 30.
Oh my goodness, this is going to get dramatic at the end. And by the way, Eckert was right behind. That incident off of turn 4 was a single car hit to the outside wall, but he made the move underneath Dylan Landry and snuck underneath the spinning car to be able to move on through. We'll see, that's enough.
3rd time's the charm. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. As the win goes to Channing Balu, who goes to victory lane in what is the final race to conclude here in Texas. Quick look at your results. For split number 4, Balu gets the win. It's Sean Peleg in second. Thiesgens, Seiko, and Kolonix your top 5. Johnson, Dallaire, Drake, Dinsmore, and Shaquille Ray your top 10.
Look all the way back. Jake Phillips, Colby Jackson. There's Ethan Eckert, 19th, getting 3 just on that last lap alone. Is that going to be enough to sneak into the top 30? We'll just watch. And a lot of those other drivers in the top 30, most of them involved in crashes late.
And some involved in trouble early. Trepa, name familiar, along with those bottom two, Demet and Arnold, not able to make it the full distance in this one, as they will end up on the hook when it's all said and done. Alan, let's toss things back over to you. You've got Zach Novak with us again.
Yes, one of our championship drivers who had nothing to worry about tonight, just got to sit back and watch all the action. Give me your perspective, Zach. A lot on the line for these drivers. You had to be happy you weren't out there having to compete and worry about getting one of these top 30 spots, because there was so much pressure out there.
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine what, Kwame and even Ethan Eckert there were feeling, those last few laps of their respective races, just not really knowing what's going to happen. And, you're obviously competing against guys in multiple different splits. So it's hard to kind of judge how many points you need. And I was on the edge of my seat watching, figuring out who's going to make it and who's not. And, just congrats to everybody in the top 30 that made it. I had a great time watching this series and keeping up with it. And now the real thing starts here in a few weeks.
I imagine you weren't just watching, you were scouting potential competition. What do you make of the field and the level of competition you saw in the qualifying series the last 11 weeks?
Yeah, obviously, the top guys, Quinton and Seb and, G-Mains, all those guys are going to be competitive. And with Quinton and Garrett having raced in the championship series before, I expect them to be good. But, I've been saying for a while that Seb's one of the best guys I've seen that hasn't participated in our series yet. So I'm looking forward to see how he does. But obviously, looking forward to, our Dead Zone Racing teammates getting back in with Cody, Nate, and Blake Reynolds, and looking forward to a good year.
All right, one of our championship 4 last year, Zach Novak, back in action. The championship season, it's just around the corner. Looking forward to seeing you back on track, Zach.
Thank you.
Well, I'm told that the points are in. So let's take a look at who's advancing the free agency with a look at your unofficial qualifying series results. Quinton Warman highlighting as your champion of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series. Again, the drivers on this left-hand side of our screen, we pretty much knew were in. Maines, Navarro, Morton, Marin, all fantastic seasons. Dylan Basin, Joe Armstrong, Jake Nichols, Wyatt Tinsley, and Jose Solis Jr. through your top 10, Kenneth.
And great jumps across the board. Some drivers falling a few spots, but for the most part, they know they are in. Jose Solis Jr., one of those big gainers, +6 since before the green flag at Texas and after the checkered. Drivers like Jaden Hopp, winner in Split 2 at Darlington, and a few others that have been able to either reach victory lane or just perform well over the season. Great job for them, and now they can move on to try and market themselves to all these championship series teams in a bit.
You see Michael Cozy Jr., Seth Knoll, Cody Bias, Logan Helton, and Nate Stewart through the top 15 with Thomas Lloyd, Daniel Falkenham, Kenny Brady, Sean Conklin, and Jaden Hopp. Now to the cut line. Mitchell Hunt, Blake Giglio, Ryan Doucette, Eddie Kerner, Blake Reynolds, Abraham Vila, Garrett Lowe, Tommy Gossett, and Michael P. Frisch by 2 points is in over Aaron Lee. We talked about Aaron Lee a couple of times over the course of this night and kind of where he shook out in things. And then Ethan Eckert, guys, involved in that early accident in Split 4, was trying to claw his way back. He got a few more in the closing moments, but it was not enough. The race win tonight for Ryan Andrew in Split 3 was not enough. 2 drivers, some gutsy performances, end up on the wrong side of the red line.
I mean, that's just unbelievable to see how it all went down to those final few laps. And again, how just one small situation early in a race could change the course of a mindset, of a mentality, and these points for the end of it. Michael P. Frisch, 7th place tonight in top split. That was well more than enough to only be clear by 2. That's unbelievable.
He came in -150 into this race. That's what top 7 in top split tonight did for Michael P. Frisch. As we see again, Matt Busa, 42 minus 235. Some big names even on this. Tyler Latterell had a great season going for a long time. Maybe not in the top split, but we talked about him a lot in the second, maybe third split. And for him to come back, finishing 48th, well out of the transfer there. But again, some names we recognize here on this page. Brian Mercurio, former Coke Series driver. Tough season. Really a lot of talent at the top of this field.
Yeah, Boost obviously one jumps off the page to me. We saw John Hall go to victory lane. We saw Thieskins battling for the win in 57th. I think even for those drivers who do not end up in, I think there will be some positives to take away from the way that this ends. A lot of drivers ending their season well. We heard that when we were talking with Kwame, obviously, but this was a new format, right? The snake splits is not new. We used to do this with the qualifying series. We would narrow it down in contender, and you would go through basically a years-long process. So we've taken a year's worth of drama, packed it into 11 weeks and 3 months, and now we only have 3 weeks or so to catch our breath before the championship series. But it's the point we made during the race, Kenneth, is these drivers now who are in the top 30 do not have a chance to take a deep breath. This is not the Coke Series of yesteryear where you hit the cut line, you're in, and it's done. You know, individual results matter. Even if you were already locked in, where you finish, that points number matters, because there are going to be 10 drivers, maybe all from that list of 30, who do not make it into a ride. So now the marketing, the pitching, and to some drivers, maybe letting your results do the talking. Now that part begins before free agency opens.
Last year, Evan, we had 49 drivers that were eligible for eNASCAR free agency. That was 9 drivers that were not eligible to make it to the championship series in a full-time capacity. Saw a lot of them become reserve drivers and play backup for other teams that maybe have drivers missing for certain weeks. Now it's 12. 52 drivers that are in this free agency pool, and only 40 spots. And we've again talked about all of the championship series drivers that have already signed in with some of their teams for next year or this season. They understand they're going to be certified. They're waiting on a teammate now, and that's what makes this journey very, very filled with pressure and a lot of things in the middle of it. But a great qualifying series to start off in this first ever format.
Yeah, Alan, to use an analogy that Casey Kerwin would get, some of the drivers have been snoozing with Dynaco. They've been trying to get to California. Like those championship series drivers, they've had the chance to talk to the teams to make it happen. And to KB's point there, you've got these 10 drivers who may be on the outs, 12 total, but you know, where you finished in qualifying matters, because you're also going to have the top 2 drivers from the college series a year ago. They're also in that pool of 32 free agencies. So there is a balance between results on the racetrack, history on the service, social media, marketing, all those different things which have been a part of the story for a long time in the real world, part of the story here on the sim.
And it's just a matter of what the teams look at. Remember, what the standings are a culmination of the Truck Series, the O'Reilly cars, and the Cup Series cars. If you're a team owner or a team principal, maybe you look, when you're picking a driver, you favor more heavily to what these drivers did on the Cup Series side of this, right? The last 3-4 races in the Cup car. Maybe that factors in. Maybe it is the personality, the social media aspect of it. Now it's a different kind of season, a different kind of competition before we hit the championship series.
Well, I mentioned the drivers get a little bit of whiplash. Well, here's our version of it, because let's talk championship series schedule. We'll bring James Pike and Ryan Vargas back into the conversation. And James, we made the point of mentioning, Michigan, Texas, a couple of the tracks we saw in the last couple of weeks here in the qualifying series are at critical points in that championship series campaign into the playoffs. But it is not just that. I mean, this is also a condensed championship series schedule that we look at compared to any other year. Sometimes they've been high as 21, as low as 18, but it's going to be a 13-week campaign these drivers will now embark on, battling for over $500,000.
13 weeks and a few more races amongst that bunch. And the immediate standout to me, just because it races as well in the sim as it does in real life, Kansas Speedway back on the schedule for a first time in a little while. The last few times the Coke Series has been there right around the turn of the decade. Just absolute, for lack of a better word, bangers of races. I am so excited to see Kansas in particular on the calendar, and in such a critical place in the schedule too. The last race in the playoffs before the cutoff out to the finale show. We were already going to see a good show that night, but if you don't have September 22nd scheduled on your calendar, go ahead and mark that down. You will want to be seated, planted, and locked into eNASCAR.com/live that Tuesday night.
And Ryan, with a condensed schedule, I look at this and you have to think of the outliers, right? The plate tracks, the road courses. When you condense the schedule, if you keep 2 road courses, it's a big percentage, right? If you keep a Daytona and Talladega, it's a big percentage. What jumps out to me is you've only got one of the traditional super speedways. Now, yes, Atlanta on the calendar also, so you could count it as 2 with Echo Park and Daytona. But then the lone road course race of all of those ends up being a new one. It's kind of been a new tradition to go international. And that one stop would be a brand new facility for us in Mexico City. So when you have 20 plus races, we've seen years with 2 or 3 plate races, 2 or 3 road course races. Those are also compressed down with the shorter schedule.
Well, and you mentioned how the importance of those races, how much importance those races play. It's really because there's no gaps now. There's all these weeks right after each other. You look at it, there's the biggest gap I see is what, 2 weeks between a race? Normally you see these guys, they'll hop on the sim and run, hours and hours, days, weeks of sim laps, getting those laps, getting their setups refined. They're not going to have that now. They're not going to have that time to recoup, dial in their setups and make sure that they have the best product. They have to go out and execute on a moment's notice. And you mentioned Echo Park, Daytona, 2 Speedway style racetracks right there. Those are going to play such a key role because of the fact that there's only 13 races into this, and if you really think about it, only 9 regular season races. So it's going to be interesting to see when really such a big chunk of it kind of comes down to a bit of a wild card there. You also throw in Mexico City, so it's going to be a very interesting schedule once we get into the nitty gritty.
So, James, we've seen a lot of changes to this eNASCAR ladder over the course of our years, and we enjoyed covering it. Both you and Ryan were with us throughout all of this on Countdown to Green. So, James, I'll let you go first, and then Ryan to you right after. Just want to give you the floor. Final thoughts on how these 11 weeks for the qualifying series played out.
I feel like it was a throwback in a lot of senses to the days when it was primarily NIS races that were used to qualify for this. It was more about going out and just getting good results, and it was less about, I think, the time that you put in and more about the quality of time. You could spend a lot of time in years past trying to race your way into the Coke Series. I think with this particular format, it was about how well you spent your time turning laps, training, getting prepared for these races, and putting yourself in a position that when you showed up on Tuesday nights, you were prepared, you were ready to go, you put in good performances. I think ultimately the best of the best truly have risen to the top, and the top 30 that have made it into free agency are well deserved. Well,
and the other thing too, James, is at the end of the day, we talked about the previous formats, right? Going through Contender, Road to Pro, and all that stuff. Now with the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series, all these drivers trying to make it to the championship series are on the big stage. This is the big stage. We're here on Tuesday nights. These teams are watching. They're watching these drivers that are going into free agency right now. Are you going to be a team that goes with somebody who formerly raced in the championship series, knowing that they've been there, go with the experience? Or you just saw one of these rookies come up here and whoop those guys. Why don't you pick one of them? So it's going to be very interesting to see how a lot of teams look at the performances across the truck, the O'Reilly cars, and the Cup Series cars, seeing how that all comes into play and how they use that to pick their lineups.
Are you picking somebody with speed, with a technical alliance, to maybe a teammate you've already got locked up? There's so many questions. Appreciate your guys' thoughts and looking forward to having you guys as we progress into the second half of the year, into the championship series. And I'll give you guys the floor as well, KB and Alan. It's been a lot of fun calling these with you guys. It's a new era in the world of eNASCAR. It's been a lot of fun, and I think the craziest part of the season may be what happens between now and when we say the road to $500,000 in Charlotte when we kick off the championship series. It's going to be a wild couple weeks as we put this qualifying series in the books.
There's a ton of activity that's going to happen in the world of eNASCAR in these next few weeks, and even the hours after this race is over, where drivers are already starting to plan their strategy to try and lock in with a team for the championship series. The one word I think about when I've covered this format and seeing the way it's unfolded over the last 11 races is adjustment. One thing unique to iRacing and esports is that you constantly have to adjust. To be the best, you constantly have to find different ways to be better as the landscape changes. With this new format, it's not about just being the best in one car. You've got to be the best in 3. You've got to adjust over a pretty short schedule. And even the championship series drivers, as much time as they have had to rest and watch this unfold and have a bit of fun looking at it, they also have to adjust. A shorter schedule overall. New drivers that are joining them, especially those that have conditioned themselves in a type of schedule like this to be better. And next season, it's going to be even better to see those drivers who are used to the format step in and maximize it as much as they can. All about adjustments on both sides of the playing field, and now we get to see both of those sides merge in the championship series in May.
Yeah, the last 11 weeks have shown us just how deep the talent pool is, how good these competitors are. But what I like to envision are the championship drivers who have been waiting, circling like sharks, because if you thought this competition was good in the qualifying series, it's the best of the best who is waiting for them. And now they get to meet and compete and show you just how good this field really is on sim stock car auto racing. I can't wait for it, and I'm glad it's finally here.
It's been one of, if not the longest offseason ever for those drivers who re-qualified in last year's championship series to this one. How do they respond when they get back on the track in 3 weeks' time? Because our next race is the first race of the 2026 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Championship Series. The Coca-Cola 160 goes green on Tuesday, May 19th. That's at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time start right here on the iRacing Esports Network and streaming live at eNASCAR.com. Well, that's going to do it for us here tonight from Texas. And not only on behalf of our entire team at iRacing, NASCAR, and all of our folks behind the scenes on tonight's broadcast, for all of our driver analysts, for all of the co-streamers, the Twitch chat, the YouTube chat, everybody who has been a part of this qualifying series, we're so happy that you have been a part of it with us. Tonight, for Zach Novak, Blaze Crawford, James Pike, Ryan Vargas, Alan Cavana, Kenneth Bueno, and myself, Evan Pasoko, want to say thank you for tuning in. The qualifying series has come and gone, and your champion who walks away is Quentin Warman. Now, free agency will determine the 40 drivers who will participate on the road to $500,000, which is coming up next. We'll see you Tuesday, May 19th from iRacing's virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. That race and every race of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Championship Series can be found right here on the iRacing Esports Network. Until then, good night from Texas.